The Olympics have had a long and storied history. Some strange events have come and gone, while others are a staple of the modern games. We've seen iconic moments in the past, like Jesse Owens' spectacular 4-gold medal performance in Berlin in 1936. But we've got superstars in the present, like Simone Biles, who will almost certainly be remembered as the greatest female gymnast in history. But if you're in the market for something culturally tone-deaf and mildly religiously offensive, the opening ceremonies for the 2024 Olympics in Paris will not disappoint you. It included a bit with a threesome, as well as a moment depicting the decapitated French queen Marie Antoinette, which was heavily criticized as distasteful. Now, I can't actually show you these things on video, which I'll explain in a minute. Most famously, the ceremonies included a performance with a bizarre mashup of an ancient Greek bacchanalian feast and Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. It featured drag queens, one of whom is apparently a child, and some blue guy dressed in a garland and a string bikini that leaves too little to the imagination. Some of the pictures showed one drag queen's exposed genitalia, with him standing next to a child, which seems like that should be illegal. Many Christians were offended by this absurdly weird fusion of classic pagan and Christian imagery with just a hint of nudity. In seeing the reactions from believers, non-Christians raged about how Christians were just looking for any excuse to portray themselves as martyrs. They proclaimed that the scene had nothing to do with Christianity, which we know is completely false. The organizers and the director have issued apologies, but not once did they ever explicitly deny that the performance included a Christian reference. A large number of news sites have all repeated the same source that says the director denied taking any inspiration from The Last Supper, but taking inspiration from something and using it as a reference aren't the same thing. Reuters news agency reported that at least one of the participants in the scene disagreed with the apology offered by the organizers. He might have made a little slip when he said, "An apology means recognizing a mistake, recognizing that you deliberately did something to harm," which was not the case. What bothers people isn't that we're reproducing this painting. What bothers people is that queer people are reproducing it. That does sound like an accidental admission. One rather famous drag queen in France apparently did understand the scene to be imitating The Last Supper, and some news pieces said that Joly did use it for inspiration. For instance, for the festivities segment, Thomas Joly took inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting to create the setting, producers said in the statement. Clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect toward any religious group or belief. Joly's not the first artist to make a reference to what is a world-famous work of art, from Andy Warhol to The Simpsons. Many have done it before him. So I'd like to think that the creators weren't intentionally trying to insult Christians, they just did it unintentionally. If it really had nothing to do with Da Vinci's masterpiece, why has every social media platform been scrubbed? Why is the International Olympic Committee hitting content creators with copyright strikes for posting videos of the event? Why not just come out and explain it? We also have to note here that drag culture has always included both exaggerated sexuality and irreverence toward Christianity as central pillars, which you can see in the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is just one of many examples. Objections to the opening ceremonies came not only from Christians, but from political liberals, non-Christians, and even members of the LGBTQ+ community. Fitness guru Jillian Michaels tweeted, "Dear fellow gays, we demand tolerance and respect, but then make a mockery of something sacred for over 2 billion Christians. This type of hypocrisy and lack of understanding is a bad look." Gays Against Groomers tweeted a similar message. They expressed their disgust and said that people seeing it should be horrified. Secular professor Gad Saad tweeted, "Let's try this with one other particular religion and see the reaction, shall we?" The Apostate Prophet, an atheist who is a former Muslim, said, "The Last Supper is mocked during the Olympics opening ceremony. Now do Islam, since it is a part of Europe." A panel for Sky News in Australia weighed in.
I find it so upsetting is not the right word. I'm not a Christian myself, but watching the lampooning of Christianity, which should be allowed to be done, I have no qualms with that. But if you're going to do it, at least be equal opportunity about your lampooning of religion. But as Kel points out, they wouldn't do that with Islam, which kind of makes it a moot point about, I'm taking on religion here. No, you're not. You're just going for an easy target.
I completely agree with you. And I think that no religion or ideology should be above mockery or satire. Correct. It's the inconsistency with which that seems to be applied, because have some courage. Try it with Islam. What would happen? You'd have a fatwa slapped on your head faster than Ariana Titmus can swim the 400-meter freestyle.
So yes, let's be fair about it. Let's do a little thought experiment, in fact. So the ceremonies had a weird combination of a bacchanalian festival and the Last Supper. This is obvious to any intelligent person and is above dispute. What if instead the opening ceremony had a reenactment of Muhammad's famous night journey to Jerusalem on a winged horse, except that he's carrying a rainbow flag? Or maybe have a bunch of drag queens dressed up as Muslim imams? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all know why that would never happen. In the end, it was only a matter of time before evidence started piling up that the performance was, in fact, referencing the Last Supper. Several performers and the organizers have admitted it. That's how it was billed in various places before the games began, and then organizers tried to erase the evidence for it. So how do we as Christians respond? Well, to be offended is not wrong. In the opening ceremonies, there was a deliberate combination of Christian and pagan imagery. If this were the Old Testament world, Hebrew prophets like Elijah would have probably put the entire nation on blast. But what are some Bible verses that might have something to say about this? Proverbs 19:11 says, "Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense." There's something good about not being reactionary and being willing to forgive. In Romans 12:18, the Apostle Paul says, "If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all." Well, this isn't too hard. You've probably noticed that Christians didn't go burn down any Dollar Generals when the ceremonies did what they did. Jesus has quite a lot to say about forgiveness as well. In the end, it's not wrong to be offended when someone mocks the Christian faith, as long as we're not trying to be martyrs or play the victim card. The real question is, how are we going to respond in a way that asserts our Christian identity, but is tempered with the love and forgiveness of Christ?